and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with
Colin Cunningham.
And Justin DeClue, unfortunately, could not be with us this week due to scheduling conflicts because of TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, which is in Toronto.
What the hell? What the hell does he do for TIFF? Why does he get to go to TIFF?
I think he gets to see movies. But filling in for him, we have a friend of ours who you may recognize from Red Letter Media, Jim Maxwell.
Hi, I'm Jim Maxwell.
Jim from Canada.
Hi.
It's very fitting that you're our first guest, Jim.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
We've been trying to get you on for a long time.
It's nice to be here.
You've been holding out for
holding
money.
out for the worst movie possible.
Money.
That's right.
This is your idea, by the way.
Yes.
It was not my idea.
What's your idea?
Okay, so you brought us, you suggested that we do this movie from, 2003.
Well, this was the weird thing because we rented it on iTunes. I think you did too, and it says 2010. So
mine said 2003.
It's 2003, but on iTunes it says 2010. So I have a feeling it was the DVD release was 2010.
Okay.
Or maybe it was just a mistake.
It's possible, but we were horrified that this movie would come out in 2010.
And it's horribly dated. So the movie itself is Tiptoes.
Oh my God.
It's possibly famous because it has Gary Oldman portraying a little person. It is a movie about little people.
I don't know how. Was it you who told me about this movie?
I don't know. I thought it was you that brought it up.
I remember maybe when we were working in VFX or something like that, you sent me the trailer or I sent you the trailer.
The trailer is very funny and it's been around.
Yeah, you just can't believe that somebody made this movie.
Well, it seems like a Funny or Die sketch or something like that.
Yes.
Because it's set up like Gary Oldman in a Oscar bait performance. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's like a Hallmark TV drama comedy or something.
Especially
like it seems that way, but
that trailer is super sappy. It's going for the in a performance of a lifetime, Gary Oldman.
But you're just waiting in the trailer for the needle to drop. It's like, it's like Funny or Die or something, and it never does. And you're like, oh my God.
But it's like real. 2003. I can handle that. If it was 2010, then I'd be 100% convinced it was irony. Like the whole thing was ironic.
Well, now Gary Oldman won an Oscar for The Darkest Hour, a big transformation movie with all this crazy makeup and body suits. And they did not have that type of technology or budget to do that kind of thing for this movie.
No,
I mean, shorten him?
What's that?
Shorten him?
No.
Oh, I disagree because there is an effect shot that we'll talk about.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Shot, but mostly he's on his knees.
Yeah. And what I thought immediately seeing it was, this is high caliber actor Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula fame and Immortal Beloved, where he's portraying Beethoven.
Yeah.
And then
it's like, what's my next challenge?
It's funny. I don't know what it says, but I didn't look at it a lot, but in the Wikipedia page for the movie, it says something like career slump. It's 2003 to 2005 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Matthew McConaughey was doing too well at this time either.
No.
I want to say this is kind of after. What was it, A Time to Kill? And then he sort of had his moments.
Lincoln Lawyer?
Yeah, and that was his big breakout role.
He did these dramas, and then he did a hard left to romantic comedy, which I think was after this movie.
Yeah, and then I think it was True Detective that kind of brought him back onto the sort of mainstream again.
After all the rom-coms. And
his career was...
Posters looked identical to each other.
Exactly, yeah. It was they're leaning against one another. He was in the Gerard Butler phase of his career.
Right, exactly.
And Kate Beckinsale is also in this movie. She's the other lead, and I thought that she was more successful than she was, but then I looked her up, her IMDb, and she's not done very much.
She looks like a baby in this movie. She looks so young,
very young. Yeah,
but I guess her breakout was it was Pearl Harbor, I think.
Right. Okay.
And
where she's Ben Affleck's girlfriend, or
her and Josh
Beyonce.
Hartnett were the big kind of breakouts in that movie, and then I don't think she did anything other than Underworld movies.
Yeah,
The Aviator.
Oh,
she played
was in that?
Ava
April
Gardner,
reminded me
which
of
is
that.
probably a very small role, and she's lots of terrible
Ava
movies
Gardner?
of Van Helsing.
Okay.
She was in a rom-com with John Cusack called Serendipity that I know very well, but it's not very good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about this is the most impressive with Kate Beckinsale is the fact that I was like, oh, wait a second, isn't she English? because she has a really thick English accent.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, only halfway
What's
through.
all this?
Only halfway through, when I was horrified by the movie, did I realize, wait a second, Kate Beckinsale has an English accent.
If
She
you're
is
going to be
amazing.
horrified by anything, it's her accent.
Wait, so this is like Gary Oldman played Dracula, and Kate Beckinsale was in Van Helsing,
That's right.
killing vampires. I don't know where I'm going
I think
with this.
she was like a gypsy or something in that. Pardon the
Whoa,
expression.
that's
Oh, ouch.
Okay, well,
You
we'll
mean a
talk
Romany.
About, we'll talk
Isn't that a
about Van
derogatory
Helsing.
version of Egyptian?
Yeah, we'll talk about Van Helsing another time. We may have to do that someday. Okay, so
God.
brief synopsis of this movie: Matthew McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale are, young professionals. They're in love. They're having a good time, and she gets pregnant, and he's like, "Oh shit! I haven't told her, even though I'm living with her, that my twin brother is a little person, and my whole family are little people." And so she's angry about this, but she meets the family. She integrates into his life basically, and he acts like a jerk, and Gary Oldman acts kind of nice to her. She has the baby. Matthew McConaughey leaves her. The end.
All right, that's it.
What's funny, because it's like a year goes by when they're dating before he mentions that like he's from a family of little people.
Something you probably should bring up, especially where she's like, "Well, we talked about having kids," and he's like, "Yeah, but not right now." It's like, that's come on.
It always means later with guys like McConaughey.
Yeah,
But the thing is, the movie opens up with like he's going to some convention.
Yeah,
What is
it's
it?
the Little People's Defense League.
What is that? What does that mean? Are they like an armed militia?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they need to be protected somehow.
well, maybe it's just like they fight for little people rights,
It's possible, yeah.
which is maybe not covered by the Disabilities Act.
And this is like a who's who of little people actors.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
Although no Danny Woodburn, I looked it up. He was a Mickey on Seinfeld.
Oh,
he's not
okay.
in this movie. How did he miss out?
So I really wanted to look this stuff up, but I didn't get the chance to. But I think the little person from In Bruges is in this movie, and I could be wrong, and that means I'm making a general statement, and I apologize
Very
for that.
possible.
But the little person from the Red Room in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember the actor's name?
No,
I don't.
I just call him Samson because
The
that's
backwards
who he played
talking
in.
man.
Yeah.
He played in
Exactly.
Carnival, but he's very talented.
Oh, he's really good in it.
Yeah, and
He plays Matthew McConaughey's dad.
Yeah.
that's right.
And Gary Oldman's dad.
And Thumbelina from Total
Total
Recall. I'm
Recall.
sorry, I can't remember her name, but she's blonde, and she was in one episode of Seinfeld as well. And the most famous Peter Dinklage,
Right, of course.
who is an actual character in this movie, who should probably be playing the Gary Oldman
Yeah,
role.
that's what it was suggested when it came under fire. That why didn't they just have him do it?
Yeah, and he plays a big role, and he plays a very dynamic, interesting character that's just like there.
With one of the worst French accents you've
It
ever heard. He's not.
It's-
He's a good actor.
Yeah, it's
His mastery of accents, I don't
It
think.
just
leaves
sounds
something
like
to
a
be
cheesy French accent. It doesn't sound like a horrible accent.
No, I was telling Jim it sounds like if you're doing a play in like grade 3 and then your teacher says that you're a French person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, ho, ho, ho,
gives you a
ho,
black
ho.
and white striped shirt and like a little pencil thin mustache.
And you've got a baguette. And,
But it's bad. It's obviously bad. But he's really. Whenever he's on screen, he's endearing.
he's a character.
Yeah, like you're immediately drawn to his eyes. Like he's got so much soul in his eyes.
Yes, and he's really good looking in this movie.
Yeah.
I
Cool
mean,
was going on.
okay,
and
there's a
on.
lot of scenes with him without his shirt on.
Especially when he has the cornrows later on.
Oh
in
God! Well, like Peter Dinklage on Game of Thrones doesn't really get to be
Sexy until like season 5 or something like that.
There's a bit at like
It's
the
the beard.
beginning, but then later he's just like he's basically like a slave for like half the show, and he's got a beard and he's all like scraggly, and he's like riding on a motorcycle, and he's got like does he have tattoos?
Oh, yeah,
a
he
lot of
does,
people
he
have
does.
tattoos in this movie.
He had like an shoulder tattoo. I think it's like a cross or
Yeah.
something
yeah,
like
and he's
that.
like smoking cigarettes.
But what is
and
he? He's like
drinking.
a communist or something?
He's a
or-
Marxist.
A Marxist.
Right.
Okay.
He's always spouting
Yeah.
political.
the revolution.
And he's always drinking this like what is it? A mixture of like cough medicine or
It's
something like that.
morphine mixed with cherry liqueur.
Yeah,
I
he's
think.
like puking his guts out.
But
Like,
apparently,
different scenes in the movie.
they say that he has to take morphine to deal with like his aches and pains, but he also seems like an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he is French.
And he hooks up with another probably alcoholic, Patricia Arquette, who's also in this movie.
How far would this have been from True Romance, Patricia Arquette?
This was
Seems like the same.
When was True Romance? Like 93?
I thought it was later than that.
Oh, so it's that old.
I can look it up. I thought, let's see.
Well, it was after before Pulp Fiction, so it was like
I believe
90s.
it was.
Yeah.
It'd probably be mid-90s, I think.
Okay.
But you know what? Patricia Arquette's kind of ageless. It was 93 True
There
Romance.
she is, yeah.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
so 10 years after.
She looks the same.
We're not quite sure what her story is. She sort of like talks about her husband. She was married to like a truck driver or something like that.
And they find her she's hitchhiking, and Peter Dinklage picks her up.
Yeah, she's getting kicked
right
out.
at the beginning of the movie.
Well, first of all, we're like introduced to Gary Oldman and Peter Dinklage, and it looks like they're riding motorcycles to go to this Little People's Defense party or something like that. And Gary Oldman, to hide the fact that it's a tall person, and it has this huge big contraption that he sits in.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of...
It's to hide him from the waist down.
Like a soapbox derby kind of
It's
motorcycle.
this weird motorcycle chopper / car hybrid.
Yeah.
It's almost like a sidecar if the sidecar was the motorcycle.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, they always have him in the foreground, Peter Dinklage in the background. So it's, I don't really know if they're trying to do a forced perspective situation, but I mean, for those scenes, I thought it always worked. Like, I never really questioned, outside of the fact that I know Gary Oldman isn't a little person.
But
the proportions weren't right.
Well, they did some. I was sort of reading afterwards that they had done. It was like an interview with Patricia Arquette, and she said Gary Oldman had some like head appliances on, which kind of makes sense, I guess, to enlarge his head.
Well, okay, his head actually looks. I thought it kind of looked smaller, but they've given him. They've given him like giant sort of shoulder pads.
He has like a hunch.
Yeah.
He has a shoulder hunch.
Yeah,
Right.
and initially I thought, did they just do a really bad job and they just stuck a towel under his coat or something like that? But then you know, as the movie goes, like you're actually educated on the fact that people who have dwarfism, I don't know what the actual syndrome's called.
I think that's it.
Yeah, have. I think Matthew McConaughey mentions it. They have like oversized overabundance of musculature for their bones or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're
something
constantly,
about they're constantly in pain.
yeah, so they have to take morphine all the time.
But they obviously, it was like, okay, they've given Gary Oldman a limp to compensate for the fact that he's walking on his knees the entire movie.
Yeah. He's got a cane the entire time.
Yeah, if he was just a normal, sort of didn't have any issues, he would be walking on his knees and it would look weird. So they're like, okay, give him a cane, make him have a limp.
Yeah. I couldn't help thinking every time I saw Gary Oldman that like outside of the hair, if they gave him a slight haircut, he'd still kind of look like Jim Gordon from the Nolan Batman films.
Doesn't look much different. You're
It's
right.
like the mustache and
I
the
guess
glasses.
maybe they I think it was under his wig. Maybe they enlarged his head a bit or something like that.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and then
The wig had extra head.
In IMDb, it said his pants were worn very high and tight.
Exactly, yeah, just to make him look smaller. But we talked about it, Colin, you and I had talked about the walking on the knees to suggest the idea that he's a little person. And there's that one scene in the hallway of the hotel or the.
I think it's when he's going to see his girlfriend.
Yeah.
When he's sort of walking towards camera.
Yeah. And it's they've cloned out the carpet in the hallway so that you can't see his legs. But then there's this like terrible like seam roto line.
Yeah, you can see it like breathing.
Yeah.
Like in between his legs.
Perfect way of putting it.
It's because he's walking under all these hallway lights. And I have a feeling that it was casting all these multiple shadows in every which direction.
Yeah.
So they've kind of badly patched in the carpet, and then his little he has these shoes glued to his knees.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like the way he is the whole movie.
Yeah. It looks like they're kind of like morphing and like doing weird twists and warps and stuff like that. It's very funny.
It's like it's passable. I mean, all the sort of special and on-set practical effects are pretty passable. I mean, there's one scene where he's sitting on the couch with Kate Beckinsale and his legs.
There's 2 couch shots in the movie.
Yeah, his legs look like they're stuffed with newspaper, or like Muppet legs. They're like really rounded.
If you Google the image, just Gary Oldman Tiptoes, it'll probably come up. He's talking to Kate Beckinsale. He's sitting on a couch with his little fake puppet legs. And all I could think of was Kermit the Frog sitting on the log singing like Rainbow Connection. And they've clearly hollowed out the couch, so he's sitting inside.
Yeah.
But they're not even like bent at the knee like real legs. They're kind of just curved. It's like when you're like a kid and you stuff like a pair of pants with newspaper.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the movie is it's not bad. I mean, as I said, it's passable, but it's this movie's kind of shot a bit like the Muppet movie. It's all like waist up, right?
Yeah, it's like hide the puppeteers.
Low angle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You have to, because you're trying to hide Gary Oldman's legs.
So you need that one shot of him like full body walking down the hallway to really like
sell it.
People who are going, oh, they're just trying to hide his legs. And then they see that shot and they're like, oh my God, maybe he is.
But it's like with today's technology, they do a perfectly, blended CG version of it, which wouldn't be as exciting because there's like way more left to the imagination when,
they would
it's like the movie Alien. You don't see Alien that much.
They would like stick his head on like a little person's body or something like that.
Like that movie Little Man.
Oh God.
Well, there is a Bollywood movie that I saw a trailer for on Netflix about a guy who, well, I don't know if it's quite a person with dwarfism, but they basically just digitally shrunk him and made him short, and it looks really cheesy, but better than Tiptoes.
They did one of those like Snow White movies. I don't know if it was like no, it wasn't the Huntsman, Snow White and the Huntsman, but there was another
Mirror,
the Julia Roberts one.
Yeah,
and then they had like Nick Frost and Ian
You're
McShane.
right, and they shrunk everyone.
They did something. They put their heads on little people's.
Oh, weird.
Little people.
Should have just went Time Bandits.
Do I say little people actors or little actors?
Just little
people actors. But you know what? I think that this proves that Hollywood was and still is kind of prejudiced against putting little people in major roles because they're like, oh, well, they're not a big name. Who cares? Gary Oldman did not need to be in this movie at all.
Yeah.
And that might have been because I think a lot of his scenes were cut. We don't even get to know him as a character. So it's why even have a name actor playing this character?
That's such a good point because Gary Oldman... I saw the trailer and I thought he was the star. Obviously, Matthew McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale are going to pull some focus, but I thought he was sort of the main star of the film. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, no, he was more like a sort of side character, like R2-D2.
Oh, well, yeah, but we know more about R2-D2's history and where he came from.
Yeah.
All we know about Gary Oldman is that he has an on-again, off-again relationship with the blonde lady who I found out later was actually a porn star in real life. But they're not even really, because he goes and visits her and she's having another guy burst in who she's having a relationship with, and he's just like, I don't even know why I went to see you. Also he has a southern accent, trying to sound like Matthew McConaughey, possibly.
He can't make the British guy have the southern accent. McConaughey can't have like a.
Also, I kind of felt like Kate Beckinsale kind of had a little bit of a twang too. Speaking of
I have a feeling
people.
if you like hung around with
exactly.
like
it
Matthew
would just rub off on you immediately.
You'd start like mimicking his accent. All right, it's like, let's take
so
our
glad to be in this movie.
Let's take our shirts.
It's funny. They're supposed to be twins, but Gary Oldman's actually like 11 years older than him.
He's much older.
And he looks older.
Yeah, he does not look like. This is primo McConaughey.
Yeah,
this is prime beef. Speaking of which. Remember that scene where he comes back from the little people's defense? He hasn't told Kate Beckinsale at this point. He keeps making excuses like, oh, I got to do a family thing.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. She's in bed, and then he's taking his suit off and stuff like that, and he strips down to his tighty whities. Mm-hmm. You get the McConaughey abs.
Unnecessary. Well,
the lighting.
Dude, you see his package.
You see every detail.
Well, he's wearing underwear.
When you do a shot like that, like make sure the underwear is like, I don't know, nice and clean. And like, sort of like catalog magazine sort of quality, but it just looks gray.
They were like tidy whities.
Yeah. It's like a dead shark color.
or like just old like granny pants that have been lying around. Yeah, but you see everything and it's very distracting. And then he puts on a mouth guard.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is he putting in his mouth?
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about the beginning of this movie is the font for the credits. Did anyone remember this? Yes. It's normal font, but then one letter will be outrageously stretched.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know. Trying to be stylish.
Well, if that's the case, then wouldn't one be shorter?
You'd think.
It was wider. So it's like Tiptoes, and the O is like the size of 3 letters.
It's like squashed down.
This is a real kerning question.
I know. I appreciate
I know.
all typefaces and font, situations like that. But I mean, I can't get over the fact that this movie is called Tiptoes, which is bullshit.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
That suggests that little people are always on their tiptoes because they need to rise up to speak to regular,
like
normal,
around.
blah, blah people. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you walk around people on your, you're walking on eggshells or something?
It has nothing to do with anything in the movie, unless it's like Matthew McConaughey has been tiptoeing around the fact that he has a little people family. But
yeah, because he's a grade A shitlord.
Yeah, he's a horrible character
in this movie. Like, there's no redeeming qualities about him whatsoever.
No. It's strange. I mean, it's like it's got that weird energy where, like, the only analogy I can make for this, so because plot wise, he's a terrible person. He can't handle having a little person baby.
Yeah.
So he disappears and he like basically abandons it, comes back, and then he's like, no, I'm gone for good. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it's like bad energy, sort of Hollywood stuff that doesn't work, that you sort of feel in like deleted scenes from movies.
Tons.
And it reminds me kind of that bad sort of awful energy of like Joey dating Rachel and Friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just feels really wrong.
Yeah, I never watched Friends, but yeah.
Well, he does. It's like, because it's almost like this is supposed to be the main character. This is the hero that we love in the movie, and he's just a jerk for most of the movie, and then he disappears in the third act altogether.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that he couldn't handle any baby, not a little person.
Yeah,
baby.
I think that was. That was his
shitty father.
So he's like, he's trying to explain to Kate Beckinsale, it's like, dwarfs are going to have all these problems growing up. They have to be on morphine, blah 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 blah. So like, let's not have this kid. We can adopt. And then she sort of, Gary Oldman, she finally meets Gary Oldman, and he brings her to their family to meet like the parents and stuff like that. And she kind of gets comfortable with the idea of having a dwarf child.
Almost immediately. She's on board like very fast.
Yeah. Right. And then
there's that great line where it's like, she keeps using the word midget, and Matthew McConaughey, even though he's supposed to be an asshole, he's like, no, we don't use that word. And he goes on about that. And then she finally says, they're sorry, not to derail the conversation.
No.
They go to that party, and Matthew McConaughey invites people from his, like, whatever, firefighter work.
He's like a fireman, so he's sort of like
training.
What is he? Away on like a week-long kind of firefighter
like a retreat.
trainer.
Yeah.
I think he's like an instructor at this sort of
like safety hazard instructor or something. And so he invites these 2 women. I don't know why he's inviting these 2 women to the party.
I don't know.
It's not clear.
Yeah, and anyway, so Kate Beckinsale sees him, and she's like, hey, babe, whatever. And he's like, hey, and he introduces the 2 women to Kate Beckinsale. And one of the women says, wow, there's a lot of midgets at this party. And Kate Beckinsale corrects her and says, they're not midgets. They like to be called little people. Uh-huh. And then Matthew McConaughey says, look at you brushing up on the terminology as if it's this great feat she's achieved. It's like...
Whereas like a scene earlier, she was just like, midget.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm angry.
Yeah, she showed up. She shows
a horrible
up.
person.
First of all, in one of the opening scenes, it's revealed Matthew McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale live together. She's a artist.
Yeah.
And it opens. The scene opens on her painting. I swear to God, this canvas is like 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
And like 20 feet high, and it's just these horrible roses she's painting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like squirrely, circular, pink and white sort of things that are supposed to be roses, and
it just looks like wallpaper.
Yeah,
like
it just
wallpaper.
looks like someone took a stamp and just went across.
Yeah.
It belongs in a shopping mall.
It's not even good enough for that.
No.
Go and buy this. But it's like, so it's sort of established that she's a painter, and it's like clearly
It's really successful. She says it pays the bills. She's that good at it.
Yeah, but they live in like a loft, so you're thinking, okay, is this her kind of artist loft? But
it kind of must be, because she would have a space like that. He wouldn't have a firefighter wouldn't live in this well, maybe it was a firehouse.
an old firehouse,
a warehouse.
Actually, where do they live? Where does this take place?
I don't know. I was getting like a LA, not LA, but a California.
I was too
vibe.
busy like taking everything else in.
I wanted to say San Francisco, but we would have known it was. I don't remember any hills, but I was getting like I don't know. Somewhere in California,
like New York State or something, but I don't know. But like she could not afford that place.
I don't think. I feel like maybe he could. Who's buying her art?
I don't think firefighters would do that well.
Maybe.
If you're a firefighter, tweet at us and give us your T4.
But the thing is, I don't think they've really been together that long.
No, I think it's been like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If they're living together, they probably didn't just move in right away. They're living together. They've already talked about having kids. They're having sex all the time, including with protection and sometimes without, which is how they got pregnant. And it opens with a blowjob. So maybe they are still in the beginning of their relationship because they're all over each other. But then she's like, we talked about this. Like, you said you wanted to have kids. And he goes, yeah, but not right now.
I meant like 20 years from now,
like,
baby.
Dude, you guys are clearly like in your 30s, maybe. I don't know how old they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like he is. I don't know how old she is.
She could be like 22. She looks really young.
Her outfits in this movie. I don't know what her style is. It's like this sort of bohemian trash kind of juggalo.
Well, she's got a T stamp.
Yep, that's the same scene we were just talking about of her painting the roses. I think does it open on the tramp stamp?
Yeah, I think she kind of bends over to camera immediately.
Yeah,
and you see the tramp, and I was like, tramp stamp.
No, it's very dated.
And then she's wearing these sort of like, I don't know,
pajama pants.
Yeah, but very like
with
low
like
rise
skulls on them. But like that's a real.
She's an artist.
Yeah, that's a real choice by the costume designer, the art director. They put bad tattoos on this character. Yeah. She has long brown hair and then the ends are like dyed red. Mm-hmm. Like it's very like, okay, maybe it was popular at the time, but they made a choice to make her look really kind of trendy and bohemian. She wears these ridiculous hats. Like, is it supposed to make her look, I don't know, less creditable or something?
Silly,
like he's too good for her or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. Her wardrobe. I don't know. Her wardrobe reminds me of like that shitty band, the Spin Doctors.
Yeah.
It's like, and like she keeps changing her hairstyle. And one of her hairstyles looks like sort of a cross between like Mickey Mouse and like Bram Stoker's like Gary Oldman Dracula.
Dude, yes.
Like it's like the big balls on the top.
It's too big even for Sailor Moon hair. Yeah. It's just two gigantic balls on her head.
That's when she goes to the little person party.
Yeah.
So like he's leaving for work and then she starts pulling down his pants to give him a blowjob, and it's just like. Oh, this isn't the first.
It's like when I want to stare at the painting, like that scene where can we just show more of the painting?
I think he denies her. I think he's like.
He says, "I gotta go," but I have a feeling that's just because he's facing the painting and he just doesn't want to stare at it for like 2 minutes.
Or like the painting's turning him off.
He's like, "Oh, baby,
don't do this to me right now. Don't do this to me right now."
So shit. So it's like later in the movie, they after he finds out that she's pregnant. He gets really angry and he goes off in a huff, and then cuts to him at the training, and he's training all these firemen. He's being a total asshole to this one guy, like calling him like a fat ass and like
yelling at him.
Yeah, and then the sort of taller blonde girl comes over to him and like, you asshole, what's wrong with you? And then Kate Beckinsale just shows up. She walks in.
She's got like a sleepy old man cap, like from like the night before Christmas.
She's wearing the pajama pants.
There is a story. She's wearing the same pajama pants.
Oh my God, is it that cap? Is that the cap?
It's that hat.
Oh,
okay,
shit.
so we were reading.
This is after Gary Oldman showed up at her place, and she was like, "What? You're his brother?"
Yeah. Right.
So this is what it's revealed.
And she's like, "You never told me like your brother was a midget and blah blah blah." And he's like, "We don't use that term." Mm-hmm. And then so she's wearing this hat, and I don't know how to describe it. It's something you'd wear. It's like the gathering of the juggalos. It's like it looks like a kind of jester's toque, like it has three kind of tendrils with like pom poms,
right?
And it has a old timey sleeping cap, kind of.
Yeah,
the long
like
tail.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yes, but three kind of pom poms. And
she's an artist.
What the hell is up with this hat? And then so we looked up trivia about this, and I sort of looked up the backstory of this movie. And the director had said that Kate Beckinsale would only sign on to do the movie at scale.
Yeah.
I guess it was like an indie movie, if she could wear her lucky hat in the movie. And I'm assuming it's this because...
And then the director agreed. And then the producers were like, can she take that hat off?
And during a very dramatic scene, too.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
The producer, so apparently the director's father-in-law lived next to the creator of Cops, the TV show Cops. And he and his wife were rich from Cops and were looking to like invest in movies and actually funded this movie.
Yeah.
So it was the Cops creator's wife that came over to the director during this shot and said like, she has to take that hat off.
Yeah.
He was trying to explain, no, this is her lucky hat. It's the only reason like we have her.
Yeah, I don't think that hat like is a lucky hat. Has done a lot for her career.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous
like
looking.
Distracting.
It's like the opposite of a lucky hat because her career just went down the shitter.
It's like a snowboarding hat.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe it was popular at the time.
But the director says that led to a rift between him and the producers, which led to him being fired from this movie.
So it was all because of this terrible hat, this terrible toque. And so really it's Kate Beckinsale's fault. She should have been mature enough to be like, it's just a hat.
Yeah.
But so
no.
maybe she was a lot younger back then.
Well, she didn't wear it in Pearl Harbor, I don't think.
Every time I think of Kate Beckinsale's career now, I'm just going to think shitty hat.
It's a period piece. She didn't wear it in Pearl Harbor. It's a period piece.
Michael, I've got to wear my lucky hat in Pearl Harbor.
Aviator, I got to wear the lucky hat.
She's always
Van
wearing...
Helsing.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know what? Because every other movie was a period piece that she was in.
Yeah, and it's like, and then somebody just takes her aside and like, Kate, maybe it's not a lucky hat.
Yeah.
Because your career is in a terrible spot.
The dialogue in this, I mean, it is sort of so bad it's good in places that oh God, it's just so stiff. Like
it's cheesy for sure.
Yeah, and just they have so many bedroom scenes like with low, dark lighting and everything, and it's so gross. And at one point she's like, "Is it that big a deal if our child is a dwarf?" And Matthew McConaughey says, "It's not something you just walk into." Like
that's a really weird way to put it.
And
I
think I can't tell if it's after that or before that, but like they have this gross scene where they're like eating each other's faces essentially, and just like the audio is so loud.
Ew.
And it's like this flat, horrible, callous dialogue followed by like just kissing, gross eating noises.
The thing about like it's not something you just walk into. Later he says we should just adopt and not have kids. So essentially what he's saying is if you're going to have a baby who has dwarfism, you should plan it. But also don't plan it, just don't have one.
Yeah.
And
in fact, just don't have any baby.
Yeah.
And when the baby is born, he flips out in the hospital.
Well, we have to talk about the transition. So like they decide to get married. She meets the parents. Her parents meet. And then her parents come over. Her dad is played by Chad Everett from Mulholland Drive. Right. He's the older actor that Naomi Watts has to do the audition with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two Lynchian character actors in that scene.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God.
Because Matthew McConaughey's father was in Twin Peaks.
Right.
This is almost like a David Lynch film.
It kind of is,
Oh,
yeah.
I wish it was.
And then you kind of, they're meeting, the fan, and you think, oh God, they're going to say something, terrible. And then the mom does the fake out. She says, okay, I don't want to seem prejudiced, but...
Yeah.
And
you think it's like she's prejudiced against little people.
And then she says, well, you have to get married at a Jewish wedding, and every sighs and really, the fake out.
Cut to they're married. They're getting married.
In the park?
Just a random park. Oh, you know what? It's probably the same field that he was doing that firefighter demonstration in earlier. Just
probably
set-wise.
That looked like a quarry or something.
I remember it being a quarry when they got married. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then Peter Dinklage and Patricia Arquette are kind of, they're not even at the wedding. They're just observing it from a distance. Speaking of outfits, her outfits in this movie.
Okay, another character with insane fashion sense. Patricia Arquette is like on another planet.
Yeah.
She has cornrows with braids, with beads, and is often wearing a bandana. Yeah, a jean
which is
everywhere.
open to all the world to see.
And lots of like leg warmers, like hand warmers, wrist warmers,
she's
all sorts of like...
presented as supposed to be another free spirit.
Yeah, I guess.
The crazy one. Kind
of like a mix of like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper.
Yes.
And like just...
roadkill
with like Bo Derek's hair from 10.
Yeah, gross.
It's so gross. But then like Peter Dinklage also has cornrows in the scene.
Yeah.
So it's like they've been together so long that, you know, she's giving him cornrows and he's looking over and they're just like making out and talking about the
drinking
wedding.
like out of like a Solo cup, I believe. Like to say, I think they might be codependently alcoholics.
I love that scene because they're getting evicted from the hotel, and the hotel manager's like, he comes up the stairs, and so that, you know, the camera's like focused on him coming down the balcony, going like room to room to room, and he's looking at he's supposed to be the manager of the hotel, but he's looking. The actor decided to improvise, and as if he was counting like the numbers of the hotel room doors, as if. But it plays like he doesn't know where he is. Like he doesn't know his own hotel.
But he's like trying to kick them out, and then Peter Dinklage is like, he pulls a gun out. He's sort of hiding behind the door off to the side, and he's like, "Oh, get rid of them," to Patricia Arquette, and then he pulls a gun out,
and he's like waiting.
Who is this guy?
In case he has to. There's a lot of really poor, weird choices in this. It feels like it was shot on a weekend. Or something.
Well, speaking of which, it was apparently originally supposed to be more of a comedy, which makes sense when you kind of look at these set pieces and scenes. For example, the little person party, it's like a pool party kind of, hosted by David Alan Grier, another name that's in this movie.
It kind of looks like a cheap James Brown.
He looks like he's cosplaying as
wig.
James Brown, but for some reason he knows all of these little people. He was at the convention earlier, and it's like this wild and crazy party, and then the ex-girlfriend of Gary Oldman ends up having sex with him in this like glass room, like in front of everybody, so it's like, whoa, crazy, and he bursts in, and it's kind of like a wacky, you know, incident, and then cut to like Kate Beckinsale and Matthew McConaughey talking seriously about the future of their baby. It's just there's a weird,
it's a weird tonal mishmash.
Same with the scene earlier where Gary Oldman gets beaten up by the guy who is same girl, the blonde woman who is a porn star in real life. All these shenanigans are happening around her, and it's like that could have been part of a much funnier, more dynamic movie. You know?
It's like constant inconsistent wrenching moods,
all
over the place.
Matthew McConaughey, he's like a kind of, he doesn't go into the comedy, he's in a very, very serious drama,
for sure.
He's always such an asshole, whereas like everybody else is kind of in their own other movie without him, and it's like every scene that he's in is from a different movie tonally.
Well, that's such a good point, because I was just going to say that it feels like he left the set like 10 times to go work on 4 other different movies. So that, you know, like there's one with like...
okay, what are we doing here? Is this is the drama, right, with the midgets? Okay.
We're Sarah Jessica Parker.
It's like, no, Matthew.
That's the thing. We know he can do comedy, but I think that maybe they were getting different direction because the director was fired maybe, because that was apparently his original vision. And then I think that the film got completely recut by the studio. And they made it 90 minutes, which is a blissfully fast 90 minutes, but I feel like we got half a movie.
It's like all the connective tissue is gone. So I think he turned in, first of all, the director, Matthew Bright, he did a movie called Freeway, which I haven't seen. I think it's Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland.
Is it good?
I haven't seen it, but I remember I talked about this on Twitter, and Jay said, "Oh my God, this guy's movies are really kind of wacky and out there, kind of indie movies."
Makes sense.
And so he turned in a 150-minute cut of this movie, and I think it premiered at the
Button-umathon or something.
Yeah, it was like Harry Knowles in Austin or whatever like that, and it was 150 minutes, and then he was immediately fired after this premiered. And then the producers came in with their own. This is the Cops guy came in with their own editor and cut it down to 90 minutes.
And apparently Peter Dinklage was really disappointed with that and loved the original director's cut.
Yeah, what did he say? It was like, it was beautiful or something like that.
Well, it probably wasn't like amazing, but it was probably, like I said, tonally a different movie. And
maybe it actually had some tone to it.
A consistent tone anyway.
It's tough with a movie like this, which is often a lot of these movies that we end up talking about, is that you have to try and imagine what the original movie was. And I think what they were going for was Matthew McConaughey is the straight-laced brother, and Gary Oldman is the kind of crazy, like, bad boy brother. And, like, isn't it interesting how they have this dynamic, but it's also about what it's like to live as a little person and what it's like to be born into a family of little people, and how he's like, you know, how he's kind of wrestling with those two parts of himself, because all the wacky shenanigans are surrounding Gary Oldman,
right?
And yet we don't get anything about his character. It seems like all his stuff got cut out, and there's a little bit around, and we got all the drama from McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale in.
It's so weird.
All his stuff is so wooden, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
It's funny because all the comedy stuff isn't funny. Like the purposeful comedy stuff is not funny.
Not really.
And all the drama stuff is hilarious.
It's so terrible.
Because you get lines like Kate Beckinsale saying, "I'm not one of those crazy anti-abortion people." Matthew McConaughey responds, "Having a fucked up baby is no bed of roses, Carol."
No bed of roses.
Like, I can appreciate the fact that like a film like this will bring, like the little people community together, because what kind of work is there for them out there in like a Hollywood movie. So that's a bonus point there, but then they just go and insult those people throughout the whole film.
Well, Matthew McConaughey is like the voice piece for like anti-vaxxers out there. Basically, he's basically saying like we should not be having children, and I'm angry that you got pregnant, even though it's his fault too.
He's an insane person in this movie, and they
he's like a sociopath.
Yes,
and with major anger issues.
Yeah, I want to tell you about the transition. So we go from the wedding, and everybody's really happy. And Matthew McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale get in their car. They're going to drive off as newlyweds. And then she's like, wait a second. She sees Gary Oldman over and like goes over and like says something to him. And then like kisses him on the mouth.
Sensually.
It's so inappropriate. And you're like, where did this come from?
They've had 2 scenes together.
Yeah. And she says something like, I think you're really terrific, or you're really wonderful or something. And she like just kisses him on the mouth. And I just looked at April like, whoa.
There's a quality of it where like, it's like a pity kiss or something. Like, I feel bad for you, so I'm going to give you this like big sexy kiss, and it's just gross.
But it's kind of like not really set up that they're interested or something.
The movie is trying to tell us that she's interested in him because he was nice to her, but we didn't even get that impression.
But all those scenes have been cut out.
He basically just introduced himself and talked a little bit about his life.
Yeah, and then he goes on. Then he goes on 4chan and becomes an incel.
Who, Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
But yeah, all his character development scenes got cut out, I guess.
So she goes back to the car, and we're like, we leave this happy scene, and it transitions right to the hospital, which it's like a little person doctor. I don't know if it's like a special hospital.
They had like a pre-scene to sort of set that up, saying, there are certain things you have to follow and go through, and
like protocols.
Yeah, I think there was some talk about that doctor being the.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it wasn't like a person hospital.
Yeah,
no, he was like a specialist.
Yeah,
okay. He was a dwarf himself.
Yeah,
might have been just a very short person.
Yeah, so she's like, Kate Beckinsale's in the recovery room with the baby, and the baby's like screaming its head off. Yeah. And Matthew McConaughey looks like he's been on a 7-day bender. His eyes are like,
God.
Remember his makeup?
Yeah, totally.
He's like sweaty.
He looks ill.
Yeah.
Ill. His eyes are just all puffy, and he's got this red, like raw makeup around his eyes.
He's sweating.
He looks like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he's going to murder this child.
Yeah.
And I was really. This scene is so creepy.
Yeah, it was like I totally tensed up. And then he like punches the door.
He punches a hole through the door.
Right through the door.
It's like, Matthew McConaughey, this is not your house. This is a government building.
Yeah, it's Matthew McConaughey, this is not your role. Get out of this movie.
You're in the wrong movie. And he's like, I'm filming like 10 movies this week. I forgot which one.
And isn't the doctor like, are you okay?
No,
are you going to be okay with this?
The doctor says, is there anything you need? And he says, all I need is new chromosomes.
Put that line in the trailer.
And then he asks, can I hold the baby, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, can I hold him?
Yeah, and
she's like,
he looks like a serial killer. And you can see it in her eyes that she's worried that something's going to happen. And then I was terrified in this scene. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, I'm no expert on this. I can't imagine you guys are either, but... So the biggest plot hole in the movie is that both parents, to have a little person as a child, despite hereditary genes, whatever, you can't have a little person as a child if both parents aren't little people.
I
Right.
thought you could. Well, I'm pretty sure there's lots of cases of twins where one has dwarfism and one doesn't, like what is depicted in this movie, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. So, but the idea is that like Matthew McConaughey essentially is a carrier of this gene.
Right.
It just didn't, it just didn't develop in the same.
He's the only one in his family that isn't a dwarf, but he still has it genetically. I guess.
But I guess the point is that like both parents have to be. One has to be a little person.
Carriers, yeah.
Right.
Or,
well,
yeah.
I mean, technically, he is a dwarf because he's Gary Oldman's twin brother.
That's true.
Little people can have non-little people children,
Siblings.
too.
Oh, children,
Hey,
yeah.
if I've learned anything from this movie, yes.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
it's definitely an education.
Why are we talking about this? This is a wacky comedy.
It is.
But so after they give birth,
Oh God.
Kate Beckinsale is in the warehouse, like taking care of this screaming child, and Matthew McConaughey's freaking out, clearly not doing anything and not helping.
No, he's just pissed off.
And he's just like basically saying like, why haven't you made this child,
Quiet.
be quiet? And
Yeah.
she's like, well, I gave him his medicine, but it doesn't always work. You're
Yeah.
just gonna have to, be patient. And he's just like screaming at her.
Yeah,
and
this
And it's
saying,
an amazing scene in one of the best lines of the film. Not the best line, which we'll come to. But he screams, he's a dwarf. I'm a dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes on this big rant
Because
about
she keeps
just say it.
She keeps saying, "Oh, it's just his condition. He's just a little upset about his condition."
say it.
Yeah. What is this? It's a preamble to
dwarf.
Twilight. Yeah.
And Kate Beckinsale's still wearing like hospital scrubs, like she's a nurse or like a doctor.
No,
or
that's just
something?
her artist clothes.
Oh, right.
They're probably.
a
Did they have?
smock.
If they had skulls on them, then
She just
they're.
like stole it from the hospital. Like, this is artsy. This is gonna work.
It's what she wears to paint, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
guess.
This is my new lucky outfit.
Yeah.
No, but can we talk about this baby? Like this
Oh
is.
yeah, it's
This thing is
not
worse
a real
than
baby.
American Sniper. This is like.
Oh, yeah.
It's clearly just like a bundle of blankets.
It looks like a log. Maybe they got Lady's log from Twin Peaks.
Well, I don't recall ever even seeing like a face.
I don't think you ever saw the face
skin,
while she's
anything.
holding it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when Matthew McConaughey returns to, I guess, Gary Oldman's chalet.
That was my favorite
whatever he lives
movie. Matthew McConaughey returns.
He talks to Kate Beckinsale about the baby, and she says he's getting big and strong, and it's like, no, the baby looks fucking same. It hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, it looks identical.
Like it's I don't
Do
know.
we
how
ever
much-
see a baby?
You see an
Yeah, you
insert
see its
shot of like
face.
its face.
of another, much older baby.
Maybe
guess.
I don't know. I don't
can't
even know.
remember.
If
I don't know if I'm thinking of the same movie. We watched it a few days ago.
no, you just see
Yeah.
her holding like a bundled up rock or log or something like that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a heart-wrenching scene, the one back in the
Oh,
loft
sure,
of
yeah.
Matthew McConaughey leaving, because he's just like, clearly I'm making this worse. I'm making it harder for him and you. What's their son's name? Damien? Sorry,
no,
not Damien.
Vincent.
Vincent, yeah. And it's just it breaks my heart because she's so sad, and she's like, there's something in her that like knew that he was going to do this, and she's just like, yeah, it's hard, but you leaving is not going to make it any easier. And then he leaves like a deadbeat dad.
He's intentionally being an assoul.
Well, yeah,
and like you, April, you said when we were watching this, like, how many deadbeat dads have pulled this thing? It's like, I'm going to be an asshole for like 2 scenes, and then like, you guys would just be better off without me because I'm an asshole.
Because I'm making it harder. But like, I think that it all comes down to Matthew McConaughey clearly was ashamed of his family and where he came from,
in
even
denial.
though, even though in the early scene he shows up to the the earlier event and he's just like, hi, it's my feel. Like, he seems so cool with it, but he clearly is not, because he didn't want to have a child, and then once he has a child, he's like too ashamed to even take care of it, to even deal with the situation. It's like, this is like his like pathos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he's supposed to be the antagonist of the film, but it feels like such an afterthought.
Doesn't start off that way.
No,
Yeah,
true.
you have to walk on tiptoes around him or
Oh,
set
ouch.
him off.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, I think he's just an asshole dad because,
Mm-hmm.
like,
That's
I
what
think
I'm
he's,
saying.
he's
All babies cry.
he's using the dwarf thing as like an excuse.
Exactly.
And it's just like, I think you'd be better off raising this baby on your own.
and if anything,
I'm gonna go back to my bachelor pad.
yeah.
Yeah.
He at least knows about this world. He should be. Yeah. He's putting it all on her, which is
really unfair. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I sort of feel like real life blends in so much into this movie because they wrote him as the antagonist later on because he had 4 other movies to do, and that's why he just had to disappear from the set.
Got to get him out of this movie.
Can I go back to like so the one of the other sexy scenes that I find so disturbing is Kate Beckinsale says, "Have you ever been involved with a little person sexually?"
That's right. Oh, I remember this.
Oh,
scene.
yeah. Okay.
And,
right.
And Matthew McConaughey responds, and Kate Beckinsale says, "You had a circle jerk with a bunch of little people. I would have loved to have seen that."
He goes, just kid stuff.
Well, yeah, but she says, "I would have loved to have seen that," and then he's like, "Yeah, you would have loved to have seen that," and then they start making out.
That's gross.
It's so gross.
It's inappropriate.
And like the music's swelling. It's like super emotional, like Field of Dreams style music.
That's how you know this is supposed
to be the entire movie.
Meanwhile, your like skin is crawling.
Or that was supposed to at least be kind of tongue in cheek, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his tongue in her cheek.
It's like I'm trying to think of the sound mixers, who are like mixing the music and the audio for the movie, and they just decide to like mix the sound just that little bit louder than the dialogue because it's so terrible.
Well, speaking of this sound, this is a rarity, but I mean, first of all, we rented this on iTunes. It's 4:3.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Disgusting.
Yeah, right off the bat, and it's like, oh, was this a TV movie? I have no idea. And then the sound mix, I didn't have any issues, but McConaughey kind of. There's like little whispering scenes when he and Kate Beckinsale are in bed together.
Kate Beckinsale is impossible to hear.
And they're, just facing each other in bed and kind of whisper talking. We had to turn on subtitles twice. Yeah. And then there was a point where April's just like, just leave them on.
Yeah. Because we kept turning them on and off per scene, but I was just, it's helping me.
I can't understand. His son's name is Vincent.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's funny though that you said like you didn't have too many issues with the dialogue or the
hearing
the sound mixing. Yeah. But like I had like major issues with the jumping between on-set like recorded dialogue and ADR. And there's some really bad ADR going on. And I looked at the credits and it's like ADR looping by Voices Anonymous.
That's the name of the company?
It's like the equivalent of Alan Smithy. Like ADR.
We did so bad. We don't want our name on this.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, the conclusion of the movie is after McConaughey leaves, Kate Beckinsale really has nowhere to go, so she goes and finds Rolf, who, by the way, is Gary Oldman's name.
Wait, she's got that big loft. McConaughey didn't kick her out of the loft.
Well, I thought it was her loft, but who knows?
What if he was like...
So didn't she went to stay with Gary Oldman?
Yeah, she kind of shows up at his
but who's at the loft? I don't know.
And he says you can stay as long as you want.
Right, because he's broken up with his.
Maybe he did kick them out. That's even worse.
Yeah, he's like, I think it'd be better for the both of you if you weren't around.
If you
me
leave, and I don't want to know where you're gonna go. So she goes up to there and
goodbye artist career.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's got to put it aside to be a mom. Oh. And so Peter, but just for a while, but Peter Dinklage and Patricia Arquette are up. It's like his cottage, and there's trouble in paradise with them. They've been together. Looks like, I don't know, maybe 9 months, a year, probably since she got pregnant, and they're fighting because he says something like bad about like the Women's Liberation Front or something.
Okay. Yeah,
he's like, oh, I thought you say you wanted to be a feminist, but why aren't you paying the check or something like that.
By the way, much better accent than Peter Dinklage.
And they like so they break up and they storm out, and then Gary Oldman's like, they fight all the time. So basically, there's like 5 minutes of the movie left, and she's hanging out with Gary Oldman for, I'm guessing, a week or two, who knows. And Matthew McConaughey shows up and he's like, I'm getting help, I'm seeing a therapist, I want to be a part of, what's his name?
I think
Vincent's life.
No, he said something like, I'm trying to be the man that you want me to be, or something like that.
Which makes no sense. I like how you say like there's 5 minutes of the movie left, and it's kind of like they have 5 minutes of shooting time left.
We gotta finish.
It's like, man, I gotta be on the set of Failure to Launch 3.
He just jumps in and then he leaves.
He goes, I gotta go. Which one is this? Oh, hey, Gary Oldman. All right, this is the midget one.
I mean, it is good that he's trying to put an effort in, but it's a little half baked. And she's like, no, I can't rely on you for any kind of support right now. I don't trust you.
Neither would I.
And he goes, okay, and leaves.
No, when he says to Gary Oldman as he's leaving, love my child.
Is that what he says?
Yes.
Oh my, that's cool. That's creepy.
Which is I read it on the subtitles. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to hear it.
Which is kind of a segue into the scene where Kate Beckinsale comes down with the see-through dressing gown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see her tits.
And, Gary Oldman sitting on the couch with the baby.
Oh, and he's like,
you can go back to sleep.
His little puppet legs.
He just went in and took the baby who was fussing and said, like, I'll take him for a while.
And I think that was, you see her face, her reaction. She's like, like this is what a
dad does
or something.
A loving partner.
Yeah.
And then he's like sitting on the couch with his little puppet legs with the baby, and he's singing Rainbow Connection. It's not easy being green.
It is the return of the puppet legs, and then
those are my favorite lyrics from Rainbow Connection.
Yeah, I know.
So he goes down. They go have a nice scene outside. They look at the stars, and
he sets up like a little fire pit.
Yeah, it's like a bonfire.
Is it a little fire pit?
It's a little fire pit.
It's a cool setup. He's got a nice pad.
He's got a nice pad.
I don't blame her for wanting to live there.
Hey, by the way, so you were saying 5 minutes to go in the movie. This is the first time you realize what Gary Oldman does for a living.
Oh yeah,
he's
you
like
don't
a writer.
Find that out. I don't think unless he explains it earlier.
Isn't he like a magazine writer or something? Or gets like articles.
Oh, I'm syndicated in this magazine.
Oh, I thought you were saying he was like a novelist, like a famous novelist.
Like he writes articles for newspapers or something like that.
Something that should have been clearer earlier in the movie.
Yeah, character development in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, the 5 minutes of the movie.
But I don't remember what the dialogue is, but Kate Beckinsale leans in, kisses him.
No, she says, it's Rolf, it's okay if you want to kiss me.
Oh, that's right. Which is the ultimate, I'm not even really into this. You know what I mean? It's okay if you want to kiss me. It's like, no, if you wanted to kiss that person.
You just kiss them?
You kiss them, yeah.
It's okay if you want to, do some stuff at me.
Rolf, it's
do some stuff to me, and I'll just look
Rolf, it's okay if you want to wear my lucky hat. It's funny. So I'm watching the movie, and, this is 3 minutes. There are 3 minutes left, and I started writing, notes. And I wrote, I would have been impressed if Gary Oldman and Kate Beckinsale decided to get together and make out.
And they do.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I'm kind of impressed by how odd and weird that is. Maybe my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have you noticed that all the relationships in this movie are, other than Matthew McConaughey and Kate Beckinsale, are tall person and little person? There's no really other than the parents, it's there's a lot of are they trying to say something? Well,
they're just like us.
Gary Oldman's blonde bimbo girlfriend,
right?
She has the guy who bursts in is just
That's
right.
Oh,
you're driving me crazy. I love you. He's a tall person, and then the David Alan Grier, the Patricia Arquette, and Peter Dinklage. The relationship at the end. Is it just trying to say that look, they're not these people that are constrained into their own environment, and and only procreate with their own people.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's all kinds of different variations, and they should be a part of our society because we're all the same.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going for.
I
would hope there's that much thought put into it.
I was reading up on the director, and his goal for the movie was that this is a quote, that he wanted a raucous comedy with short people fucking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's so bizarre.
After watching the movie and then you read that quote,
that was
so crass.
That was when he was 18.
Yeah,
that's right. And the script wasn't written and production didn't start till 30 years later. Right. So he wrote that when he was 18 years old.
It's so weird. Yeah, it's just bizarre.
There should be a movie like that.
Yeah.
I think it was his last movie. And so I was reading some of the IMDb trivia, and Jim and I we're talking about this today. It looks like the director wrote some of these as just sort of jabs at the producers.
It's all wacky, goofy.
there's the so one of them is Gary Oldman often made his famous moose soup for the cast and crew and insisted everybody eat it instead of the provided catering.
Jesus.
Moose. He claimed it awoke the machines within needed for his once-in-a-lifetime performance.
Wow.
Does that mean that it gives you gas? That's what it sounds like. The machines within.
Soup?
I don't think I've ever eaten moose.
That sounds like
moose
a fake
is
thing.
very, very gamey and fatty.
Yeah. What is it? Wasn't there like methamphetamine?
Yeah. So there's one. The film was over budget due to full throttle spending by producer Burt Krassler.
Full throttle.
Large quantities of sushi, Tito's brand vodka, and allegedly methamphetamines all made the list.
Wow.
That's
insane. I guess I'm not rich enough for Tito's brand vodka. I've never heard of it, so I assume it's high-end?
Tito's is around, and no, it's not high-end.
Is it handmade vodka? Is it
Yeah,
Tito's?
it's mid-range.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's below Grey Goose.
Right. But they probably just bought it in crates.
Meth. So, and we read this. I was like, Colin, is that meth?
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, that's crack. It's not. That's
No,
not.
It's not crack. It's
crack
meth.
and meth are different.
Yeah, meth is meth and crack is crack. They both
Don't
get
they
you
all come
amped.
from the same thing, which
No,
is like
crack
speed.
is cocaine. Meth is made by Walter White.
Meth is made from like pharmaceutical.
Yeah,
like
it's all chemicals.
Clearly, I don't
isn't it?
know, but they got a cook on set to make.
I don't think this sounds like something. So
It was made up.
The story goes when it premiered at Sundance.
Jesus, can you imagine that?
The 150-minute cut premiered at Sundance.
Oh, so maybe it was better.
And then they invited the director up on stage, and he just went on a huge rant about the producers and how he got fucked over and fired from the production.
Right.
And then he says, like, the producers were practically running up on stage to pull him off before he could finish.
Shut up, yeah.
And he was like, actually, Gary Oldman paid for my ticket to Sundance so I could actually do that, so I could get up on stage.
Wow.
Because I think he was probably pissed off, too, that they'd been cut down to like 90 minutes or...
Well, you sort of figure Gary Oldman like goes deep in every role, right? Like Daniel Day-Lewis sort of style.
Yeah,
right.
he clearly cared.
Yeah,
you know?
he just doesn't maybe have as good taste. But
no,
in
you never
this,
know.
I think he's completely on board.
Well, now we're getting to the point that Justin always sort of covers is what was your favorite part?
Jim, you go. What was your favorite part?
Okay, there are two parts. Like, I have a favorite line from the movie. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll say that first because it's terrible. Gary Oldman freaking out in the party after he's gotten into like a fight with Peter Dinklage's character, screams out, "I'm a fucking fart."
I remember that, and I didn't know what he was getting at.
Yeah, he's rambling like a crazy person. But no, my favorite part about this movie, and it has a lot of integrity, is Gary Oldman's performance. I don't think it's like 100%. I assumed that would be yours. And
It's not what I'm saying.
But I was just going to say, like, it's consistent up until the chalet scene, but I guess time is supposed to have passed. Like, it sort of feels like 3 years later or something like that. But it's like anytime he was on screen and delivering his lines and like, his accents.
It's very genuine.
shoddy.
It's not like it's not a showy. If he wasn't playing a dwarf on his knees,
The problem is I can't even hear what he's saying because I'm thinking about how he's on his knees.
Right.
And Gary Oldman is never one to give a bad performance.
No,
he's like an Oscar-winning actor.
Yeah, even what he.
But I can't get through because I'm looking at how ridiculous he looks. And there's even a shot where you actually see his leg.
Oh, sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was turning around at some party, and you kind of catch a glimpse of his leg coming up.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I didn't know it was Gary Oldman in this movie, if I would have known it was him going in. You know what I mean? Like going in, like maybe I would have figured it halfway through.
He's like a chameleon.
Yeah,
he gets into.
And those glasses really help to like.
If he didn't just look so much like Jim Gordon.
That's true.
You know.
Exactly. That's a giveaway.
If I saw it when I was younger, before I'd seen a lot of Gary Oldman movies, I would have no idea.
Yeah.
But I don't think if you didn't know who he was and you saw the movie, you'd probably catch on at some point. But you'd probably think. You wouldn't realize, this is a person walking on his knees.
Exactly, yeah.
But
until maybe the scene with him.
Another problem with his character is that he doesn't like grow or change at all.
No,
which
he's
is probably
really passive through the whole thing. Which
and he's just kind of around.
Again, I thought he was supposed to be the main character, but he's just kind of like so subdued through the whole thing. But that was your good thing.
Oh, we're grasping at straws for these things.
Well, my favorite thing was Peter Dinklage.
Oh.
He's just so good, and he's good in this bad movie in this very corny role.
Yeah.
Who is like do a terrible accent, and his character is like a bit of a shit, but
less of a shit than Gary or Matthew McConaughey.
Absolutely, yes. But he sees this girl on the side of the road, and he's like, and he picks her up, and they have this kind of whirlwind romance, and they have this like parallel movie that's happening underneath the main movie, and
they could have their own film.
Yeah, and it has like a beginning, middle, and an end, even if it's on the sidelines.
There's some good lines that they have. It's like. She's like, well, why don't we get married when they're sitting at the wedding? And he's like, no, marriage turns like lovers into relatives or something.
Yeah. He's got some real big ideas about everything. Yeah. He's always like philosophizing.
You wonder if he like added to the script,
I know. But he's magnetic. Yeah. He's wonderful. I wish the movie was about him, and if not, I wish he was playing the Gary Oldman character. Should have been who hopefully had a better, in my mind, would have had a better character.
He should have been the lead,
Rolf.
And I think
he's probably closer in age to Matthew McConaughey to be his twin.
I agree.
He's probably very young in this movie.
Totally agree.
But it kind of got shit on. I think Peter Dinklage recently even has like defended this movie.
Oh, really? I was going to ask. Like, I wonder what like present day Peter Dinklage would think of the director's
now
cut.
Because
he doesn't have to like.
But you think like on set, like nowadays, and you look at all the shit that movies get for like whitewashing or this and that.
Yeah.
But you think like being Gary Oldman on set, what when he's at that party or something, when he's surrounded by all these little people actors. What they're thinking.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And at the same rate, he gives such a good performance.
He does.
I think I read that the little people, the general on set were like, whoa, Gary Oldman. Like they were okay with it. And I think that they could understand it because none of them were at that level of fame.
Yeah.
But that's happening all the time with whitewashing in Hollywood. And now, but this was early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was a different
about,
time.
I don't think.
I know, but the shame is that they completely rewrote this character to barely even be in it, to the point where it's like, well, then you should have just cast a little person,
or maybe
because it would have helped.
Maybe he was just cut out.
Yeah.
But it'd be like some comparison online was like, it'd be like Gary Oldman showing up in blackface, like on a set,
and a blaxploitation movie,
and like actual like black actors going, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like if Gary Oldman played Willow, like Ron Howard, George Lucas Willow movie.
I would watch that movie.
I would watch that, but I think Warwick Davis did a great job. He should have been in Tiptoes.
Well, the guy that played it was one of the little people that was at the party. It was in a bunch of scenes. Was Howard the Duck?
Really?
Yeah. Now it sounded like it was like the body and the voice, although it could have been a different voice for all I know. But
was he one of the main characters
in Tiptoes?
Yeah,
he was the guy who I thought was Danny Woodburn, but was not.
Oh, he was the guy that they were trying to set up with Thumbelina.
He kind of had a goatee. Yeah. He was hanging out with Thumbelina.
Yeah, Thumbelina is from Total Recall. She has got like kind of
super blonde
hair, long blonde hair. I think she died recently. Actually,
she did.
Like a year or two ago.
It was
I actually saw her at TIFF. Speaking of TIFF, years ago at the Ants premiere. It was like that CGI movie.
Right,
Ants.
Yeah. Was she in Ants?
I know, and so I got like tickets to the premiere. It was like Roy Thompson Hall, and then there was like an after party, and I was like a huge Total Recall fan, and then saw her just sort of walking by at the party, and I told like my friend Kyle, like, holy shit, there's Thumbelina from Total Recall.
So cool if you got a picture with her or something.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Well, would you guys recommend this movie? I'm gonna have to say yes. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say no, because when you hear about it, it sounds like the most outrageous thing like you've ever heard of. But then you kind of realize that Gary Oldman's really not a character, and it's a very dull movie, I found.
Yes. Now, we had some drinks, and I think that this movie might be a 2-drink minimum. Or
is that how
whatever.
Did we rate movies now? Is that how we're doing?
No, but I'm just saying, I think it helped me kind of it helped me appreciate the movie and not just be weirded out or annoyed by it. But I do kind of feel like it's like seeing is believing, even though a lot of it is very sad.
Definitely, yeah.
Because it's a heavy drama, about this what eventually becomes like a broken home. But it's a thing to see.
Well, listening to you guys talk about it, and we're all commenting on this so many aspects of bad in this film. If I was listening to this podcast, I'd be like, I might have to check this movie out.
Yeah.
As opposed to going in cold. Because going in cold, it just feels like effort and work.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I feel like...
Well,
do you know what I mean?
We go in cold.
Right.
Going cold. I mean, it's one of those things like, I won't recommend it.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch it...
Yeah. If you're like hungover on the couch on a Sunday afternoon...
It is something to see, and it's a merciful 90 minutes.
Yeah, and even though we were saying so many problems come from everything they cut out, that 90 minutes went by really fast.
Yeah,
I think because it's just because they've crammed so much in there, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
It's over?
For sure.
It was over in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, if I had to sit through 150 minutes of this, I don't think I could have done it.
I don't think so.
No.
No, it's so scissored to death in its cuts, and it's so quick.
It's like old Harvey Scissorhands Weinstein got hold of it.
Oh God, was this a Weinstein?
No. That's his nickname was Scissorhands because he would.
That's vulgar.
What? No, it's not. No, he has Scissorhands because he would take the movie away from directors and then cut it to shreds.
Oh.
You go, we got to cut it down to 90 minutes.
It's so funny after seeing this. I think it could lose another 30 minutes, to be honest.
Well, just cut out like all of the... Well, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You're going to say the little people
No,
stuff.
I was going to say Gary Oldman because he's not a character anyway, but then the ending wouldn't make sense. So it's
that's the draw. Just cut out everything except the Matthew McConaughey scenes.
Yeah.
So
just add some more Matthew McConaughey from like Interstellar.
Yeah, he's just such an... It's like, why am I watching this movie with this asshole guy?
There was a movie called Frailty where he actually played a serial killer.
Directed by Bill Paxton.
Oh, really? And Bill Paxton's in it too. I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
It was actually really good. And it was Bill Paxton's, I think, directorial debut.
But isn't Matthew McConaughey only in like the wraparound story? Like he's not really in the whole movie.
No.
I think the whole movie's like a flashback.
It's a flashback to McConaughey.
Right, as a kid. But hey, I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, but check it out. It was good.
I want to say he plays the dad in the flashbacks.
No, Bill Paxton does.
Really?
Yes.
That's
really?
So bizarre.
Or was it Dennis Quaid? I
No,
always
it
get
wasn't
those
Dennis
two
Quaid.
confused.
Bill Paxton, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to email us, you can email us at nosuchthingAsABadMovie@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at nosuchthingpod, and you can tweet at me at April Mansky or follow me. And also consider joining the Patreon if you would like to. Every 2 weeks we have a bonus episode that is a shorter version on some movie. We just talked about the very disappointing Hobbs and Shaw, if you want to check that out. And
more like Hobbs and Boo.
Hobbs and Blah? No, terrible. But there's a whole back catalog there, and we have a bad movie lottery draw. If you want to pick a movie as well, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes. Jim, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at 1JCMaxwell. I post like art and movie stuff, and I don't know, just kind of whatever I'm feeling at the time. And it's people say it's fun to look at.
The reviews are out of this world for your Twitter lately.
Thank you. I do try.
Your Twitter's on fire.
On fire.
I thought that was like the reviews for Interstellar. They're out of this world.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be James Shalat's review.
This is out of this world. I'm Gene Shalit.
This was dreadful fun. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and people can find me on Twitter as well at Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA. And Jim, our best of the worst, just came out today.
That's true. It was a lot of fun, and I think
it was fun watching it.
3 horrible movies.
It's
as
like
always.
the funny thing is it's so long from when we film it to when it comes out that I pretty much forget everything.
Absolutely.
That happens.
Yeah, it's like seeing it for the first time.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, great episode. Check it out at Red Letter Media on YouTube. And I think that'll do it for this week. Thank you again, Jim, for being on
welcome.
the show. I'd love to have you on
first
again.
Guest.
Yeah. So I'm April Atmansky.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
And I'm Jim Maxwell.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.